hopefully the day you guys are watching this is going to be my 22nd birthday, which is September 29th. And so that is why I am sitting here today hoping to tell you guys about the time that I went on a trip to Seoul, South Korea, where I also just happened to turn 20 and celebrate my birthday there. So this video is kind of old, mainly because I have had this footage for quite some time, but it's been locked up on one of my external drives. But I was finally able to get it fixed and they restored all of my data, thank God, because I have so many videos and everything from abroad that are on that drive, so I'm finally able to start editing them and put them out. So that's why this video is so old and why you're just now seeing it. But this video, I just plan on telling you guys about my trip to Seoul for my birthday. It was actually a present from my parents while I was abroad. I'm gonna let you guys know what the best parts and the worst parts were about my trip to Seoul. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you guys my final opinion on traveling to Seoul. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Okay, so I went on this trip with a couple of classmates of mine that were also studying abroad in Hong Kong, and I had just met them because we were all exchange students and we had just kind of showed up to the same exchange student meetings and we had classes together. And so I hung out with them for a bit and we had all decided, okay, let's go to Seoul. And I thought that that would be a great place because I grew up watching a lot of K-drama and kind of introduced to like some K-pop through the K-dramas and everything that I would watch. So I had always been super excited at the thought of being able to go to Korea. So I immediately jumped on the opportunity, especially since the dates that we were planning were gonna fall on my birthday as well. And I thought that that would have been a great way to start my 20s and it would have been like a picture perfect thing. And to a degree I was right, but I don't know, you'll hear later on some other things that happened in the trip. But yeah, so we left on the 26th of September for the airport in Hong Kong. And we left right after classes that day. It was a Wednesday. We didn't waste any time. We just got on that plane and it was only a couple hours flight. So we were there relatively soon. And that night we just kind of stayed inside and explored the area that we were going to be staying in for a bit. Please forgive me because I'm kind of bad when it comes to pronouncing the locations in Seoul. I struggled so hard with this place more than anywhere in Asia. But yeah, so we stayed in the Hongdae area and I really enjoyed that area. There was so much to do within walking distance and within the subway, so it was a really nice and simple area to stay at. And so that first night we were just kind of getting familiar with the area. There was like this cute little park in front of our place that's filled with all these plazas, shops, and restaurants. So it was kind of a great area. If you are looking for an Airbnb in that area, it's called, we stayed on Dongdaemun, and then we stayed on 34 Gil Dongdaemun. So once again, I apologize if I said that wrong, but that's how I read it. So we mainly spent the 27th and the 28th going around the actual city. And when I'm speaking of city, I kind of mean like neighboring neighborhoods because Seoul is like humongous and it is composed of so many different neighborhoods within. So we just mainly mean like our neighborhood and maybe two neighborhoods over and everything like that. And it was really easy to get around there. In my opinion, compared to the MTR in Hong Kong, it was just so much nicer for the Seoul subways. I don't remember what it was called, but it was just so much nicer. It was a lot less crowded down there, so you can get around to places a lot easier and faster as well, because since there is so many less people, you weren't missing a train and having to wait like 5 or 10 minutes for the next one because the cart in front of you got full. Like you always were able to get onto a cart and there was always room. And the subways were also really clean on those trains as compared to places like New York or in HK even. It was just so, it felt kind of dirty, but in South Korea they take cleanliness really seriously of their environment. So it was a very nice and clean place and I really loved that. And it was really inexpensive as well, I believe, the train. It was just like a few dollars every now and then, and you just refill the card and continue on. That was really popular. So it was really easy to get to where we wanted to go. On the 27th, we spent most of our time in Myeongdong. I think that it's a really popular place. I can't remember, in all honesty, I can't, but I'm pretty sure it was just a really popular area, and you get off at the stop and they had some markets underneath the train stations, like connected to deserted stations, and then you would walk up and you'd get into the busy streets, and it was so crazy. It was jam-packed. Everybody was out having a great time, and I loved it. I felt like I was in that type of area and environment, and I felt like I was thriving. Honestly, you could spend a whole day there, even two, just walking around and experiencing everything. They had so much food and street food just out and about on every single area. It was like down these two rows, and they had street food of every single type. They even had fried Oreos, and I was like, am I at a fair right now? Like, what is going on? And we were there, and we actually saw them making that pulled floss. I think they tried to say that it was like the original type of cotton candy before it was a thing. And so they were making it, and you really saw them put in the work, and I just thought it was so cool looking at everybody live their lives. And my favorite thing actually about that area was actually all the fresh fruit that they had to offer. There was so much fruit. My favorite was the freshly squeezed orange juice that came out, and it was squeezed right in front of you. I had never tasted a better orange juice in my life, and I'm still trying to get that orange juice. I think about it every day. It was so good. But then on the 28th, we actually went ahead and decided to go and see the palaces that are in Seoul. So if you don't know, Seoul has 5 grand palaces all spread out across the city. And it's really nice and simple system that they have in place to go and see those. So when you go up to the ticket booth, and they have these at any of the palaces, you can go up and you can just say, oh, I just want a ticket for today at this palace, or this palace and this palace. Or you can do what we did, which is just buy a booklet for every single palace, and it lasts you a certain time span. So let me think. I think that booklet, we had it for like 3 months. Like, you had those 3 months to go see all 5 of the palaces, and it was super nice, super chill, and it was so inexpensive. Like, I think it cost maybe $30. Yeah, it was $6 a palace, and I was like, that's honestly not bad at all, especially if you're someone like me who really likes to go to places and really kind of put yourself in areas that allow you to kind of feel the culture and really see it in action and think of the history of the environment around you. So I definitely recommend that to anybody who's going to Seoul. Like, you don't have to be into history or culture or anything, but the palaces were just so beautiful, and each of them were so different compared to the others. The one that we went to on the first day, I think it was like the Throning Palace is what they said, and I took some really nice shots out there, and every time I look at those pictures, I'm just like, I just want to go back, and I just want to see it again in person. And you can actually also see the change of like people's stature and everything like that. Even the doorways were smaller, like all this small stuff like that that you just never notice now that they did back then, and how they lived their lives. And you really get to immerse yourself in it and kind of picture yourself being there, having lived that life. So I always thought it was super cool, and I definitely recommend that anybody go and visit it. Super inexpensive, super fun, and it can take you about 2 to 3 days to go through the whole thing. So it's definitely something to do if you don't have any plans for getting out there. Like, for when you get out there, you don't have anything to do, just go walk around the palaces. They have beautiful gardens as well if you don't even want to go inside and look at everything, but even just go look at the architecture. Like, it's beautiful, it's amazing. On the next day, September 29th, it was my birthday, and so they let me go ahead and pick what we were doing for the day. So on that day, I decided that we were going to go to the Love Museum and the Ice Museum. If you have never heard of the Love Museum in Seoul, just go ahead and Google it, look it up. I'll throw in some pictures, maybe, if I can do that without like being a little freaky, because that museum is literally, I was not expecting all of that when I was walking through that museum. It was so entertaining for me. We had a grand time just looking at everything, and just how open Koreans were about like sex and everything. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's insane. Like, you would never see this in America. I promise you, you will never see that in America. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was all like hilarious and also so creative. Like people were just like thinking of all this stuff and putting it in there. I thought it was so cool. But then the ice museum was also really nice. I think both of the museums that we went to that day were really, really great. Like walking through the ice museum made me feel like I was walking in Avatar, like in one of the water tribes or something. It was literally insane how everything was actually made out of ice, like every figurine and sculpture. And then they even had a little slide, so that was fun. Next to the ice museum, they also had a little like VR place that you could go. It was an arcade place, and they had a bunch of VR stuff. So we also got to play some VR games as well, and it was all for like the price of one ticket. As soon as you get into the museum, in the ice museum, you can go do all these other activities as well. And it was just really nice, something really fun to do that I just thought would be a great thing to do that day. And then after that, we decided to go back home and we tried the spicy noodle challenge. The spicy noodle challenge was running rampant on the internet back in 2018. And so when we were in Korea and we saw that we were literally where it originated from, we were like, okay, so we have to do this. And guys, that was just funny in its own. Like, it was a hot mess. I was on Instagram live doing it, but it was so much fun at the same time. So a few hours after this is actually where things get a little like rocky in the story and where things start to peak. So that night we had decided to go out in celebration of my 20th, and while we were out, we were having a really great time, and this Korean guy approaches me. He's like a man. I think he was literally like, he looked like he was like 30 something years old. I was like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. And I was talking with him and everything was fine until he started to make these unwanted advances on me. And I was just like, oh, like, no, 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 trying to respectfully and politely decline, because we all know that that's what you have to do over here in America. And so that's what I was trying to do there, but it wasn't really working, and it started to really get a lot of attention because I started to actually have to get physical, like, and push him off of me because he was grabbing at me and like grabbing my shoulders and trying to put his face on mine, and I was like, oh my god, no. And it got so bad that my friends finally saw, and other bystanders who are also foreigners visiting in Seoul saw, and they were like, hey, like, you need to get away from her. And at first we thought that that was the end of it, but then like 10 or 20 minutes later, actually it was really soon after, this man is back and he is even more aggressive than before, and like he is being persistent with it. And I got so uncomfortable and scared that I eventually had to go to one of the bouncers, and I was like, can you please get this guy, like he won't leave me alone. And they saw him and they were trying to get him out of the club area and to get him off of me and everything. But the guy was adamant about staying and saying like, I'm not doing anything wrong, like I'm fine, I'm fine. And obviously they were all saying this in Korean, but like you could tell from the body language he was like, no, like I'm not doing anything wrong and everything like that. But eventually it got so bad that one of the bouncers had to go and get one of these cops that were standing off on the side of the street, and they had to get him and drag him out and like escort him out and remove him from the premises because it was getting that bad. And honestly, I had never experienced anything like that anywhere in the world, not even home here in America. I had never like had to deal with a guy not leaving me alone. So that was a very like reality shaking moment for me, and it honestly kind of disturbed me a little bit for the rest of the trip. On my birthday night, after that had happened, we had decided to still stay out because I was like, listen, I'm still gonna celebrate. Hello. You only turn 20 in Korea once, and I'm not gonna let that ruin my night for me. But then the next day I just stayed in the Airbnb, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna relax today, take it really nice and easy. I'm not gonna do too much. And that day I just kind of sat there and I was playing with all the skincare stuff that I had gotten from Innisfree, because there was literally one on like every single block. Like you could not run away from it. There was so much skincare stuff everywhere, and I I bought a bunch of it. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try it now. Like, that's a great way to spend my time. So I was doing all my skincare stuff and watching YouTube videos while my other two friends were out and like still going about to see other palaces and other sites. Yeah, later that night I had decided that, you know, I didn't want to stay. I still wanted to see Gangnam really bad, and I knew I didn't have enough time to explore it, but I just rode on a bus that kept going around Gangnam so I could just see it in real life and understand what Psy was singing about. And yeah, I thought that was actually a really beautiful part of South Korea. Like, oh my god, it was beautiful. It was huge. Everything just looked so much bigger to me there for some reason, but it was gorgeous at the same time. And anyways, I went back home, and then the next day on October 1st, we left back for Hong Kong. We left like midday, but before I left, there was one place that I knew I had to go to, and that was this restaurant that I had seen about when I googled best restaurants to go to in like Seoul, and it was like American food, and it was this restaurant called The Famous Burger, and it was divine. It's Shake Shack mixed with Steak and Shake French fries. Like, it was so good. I was just kind of like, this is amazing, and I wish that I had this back in America. It was so good. So I definitely recommend going there if you're like gonna stay around the Hongdae area. But yeah, I got my burger and my last meal in Korea there, and then I headed for the airport. And then by the evening time, I was back in Hong Kong. So my overall opinion about Seoul is that it was actually a very beautiful city, and I 1000% recommend anybody going to see it if you have the ability to. I definitely wouldn't let my experience deter you from going or make you scared or anything like that, because that thing that happened on my birthday was such a small, minuscule thing overall compared to all the experiences that I had on this trip. I definitely wish that I would have been able to spend more time to go and actually walk around Gangnam and see some nicer things. And even for like all of South Korea, honestly, because there's other beautiful cities in South Korea that I always wanted to go to as well. So I definitely can't wait until the next time I'm able to go out there and see it, because it was gorgeous. Even when I went back to Hong Kong after that, when I was talking with my friends about, you know, everything that had happened over the trip, including what had happened that night when I went out for my birthday, they were like, yeah, I'm not really shocked that that happened to you. It's kind of a known thing in South Korea and something that they're still working on as a society, and they're working to get that equal rights for women and really make sure women are respected and cared for in society. So, you know, they were saying like, you know, like, don't be too shocked that that happened to you. It's common, and it's a thing that happens a lot like around Asia. And so that was kind of something new for me to hear about, because, you know, over in America, we're very outspoken about that type of stuff. So I knew that it was a likelihood of happening, but I just never expected that, me obviously being a foreigner, like, I didn't think that it would happen to me. And so they were just like, yeah, don't be shocked. It's normal. But now, I mean, I don't know what the state is like now with that type of stuff, but I hope, you know, there's always hope that things are better. And if you really want to go, you can definitely go ahead and do that research on your own to make sure that you're comfortable with anything that's happening politically and society-wise, and just to be sure that you're going to be comfortable while you're there. But yeah, overall, it was still a great trip, and I definitely recommend you going ahead and booking a trip to Seoul. Our Airbnb was also really nice, and that's the thing, it's kind of inexpensive. The whole trip alone was super inexpensive. One of the cheapest places I've ever traveled to around Asia, like when it comes to Airbnb. That's it for my video, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and be sure to leave a comment down below if you've been to Seoul or South Korea about how your experience was and what you think of the place. And be sure to go ahead and give this video a like. Make sure you subscribe so that you can come back and see all the new videos that I upload, including anything that I have left over to still upload about when I was abroad. I know I do have one about when I went to China. That was fun. That was an experience, so I'd love to go ahead and share that one as well. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.